The bodyguard put his hand flat against the boy's chest and pushed him back. "No kids," he said. "Get lost." The boy was small, maybe 12. Wide eyes, a soft voice. He had been waiting outside that door for 3 hours. 3 hours just for the chance to see one man. And now a 280-pound bodyguard was shoving him back into the hallway like he was nothing. The boy did not cry. He did not argue. He just looked down at the floor and nodded. And that quiet, broken little nod was the thing that changed everything. Because the door behind the bodyguard was slightly open, and the man inside had seen the whole thing. "My name is Walter Cruz. I ran security at that theater for 11 years, and what happened in that hallway I have told almost no one, until now. It was 1972, a performance theater in downtown Los Angeles. Bruce Lee was there that night, not to fight, not to film. He was doing a private martial arts demonstration for a small invited audience, press, students, a few celebrities. By 1972, his name was everywhere. The whispers had become a roar. People said he moved faster than the human eye could follow. People said watching him train felt like watching electricity decide to walk. Everyone wanted 5 minutes with him, and almost nobody got them. That was my job, to make sure of that. I had a team of men working the doors that night. The biggest of them was a man named Garrett. I need to tell you about Garrett. But I will keep it short, because Garrett is not the point of this story. Garrett was 280 pounds, former military police. He was good at one thing, making people afraid. He liked the job a little too much. Over the months, I had watched him get rougher, meaner. He had started enjoying the word no more than a man should. That night, Garrett was working the backstage door. He was not working it alone. There was a younger guard with him. A kid, really, new on the team. His name was Tom. I remember Tom because of what he did later that night, but I am getting ahead of myself. And that is where the trouble started. Around 8 o'clock, I was doing my rounds when I saw the boy. He was standing near the backstage hallway, small, thin, dressed in clothes that were neat but worn. He was holding something in his hands, a little folded piece of paper. I would find out later it was a drawing he had made himself, of Bruce Lee. He had brought it as a gift. He had been standing in that spot, I learned afterward, for almost 3 hours, just waiting, hoping for one moment. I almost said something to him. I almost asked who he was, but a phone rang. I got pulled away, and I did not think about the boy again, until I heard Garrett's voice booming down the hallway. I said no. I turned the corner just in time to see it. Garrett standing over the small boy like a wall, the boy holding up his folded drawing with both hands. "Please, sir," the boy said softly. "I just want to give him this. I made it for him." Garrett did not even look at the paper. "He doesn't want your scribbles, kid. This is a private event. You're not on the list." "I don't need to go in," the boy said. "Just give it to him, please." And that is when Garrett did it. He put his hand flat on the boy's chest, and he pushed, not hard enough to hurt him, hard enough to humiliate him. The boy stumbled back a step. The drawing fell out of his hands and landed on the floor. "No kids," Garrett said. "Get lost." I noticed something then. The young guard Tom, standing a few feet behind Garrett, he was not laughing. He was looking at the boy with something like shame on his face, and he kept glancing toward the dressing room door, like he already sensed something Garrett did not. I should have stopped it. I was right there. I was Garrett's supervisor. And I froze. I have asked myself for 50 years why I froze. I think the truth is ugly and simple. The boy was small and poor and nobody. And Garrett was big and loud and standing right in front of me. And in that 1 second, I did the math that cowards do. I decided it was easier to say nothing, so I said nothing. The boy bent down and picked up his drawing off the floor. He smoothed out the crease where it had bent. He did not cry. He did not argue. He just looked down at the floor and nodded, like he had been told no his whole life, like he was used to it. And then a voice came from the doorway behind Garrett. "Who made that?" The voice was calm, quiet, but it cut straight through the hallway. Garrett turned around, and his whole body changed, because standing in the doorway of the dressing room was the man everyone in that building had come to see. Lean, still, dark eyes that did not blink. Bruce Lee. He was looking at the folded drawing in the boy's hands. "Who made that?" he asked again. The boy could barely speak. I did, sir," he whispered. Bruce Lee stepped out into the hallway. He did not look at Garrett. He walked straight past him, like the 280-pound man was a piece of furniture. And he crouched down in front of the small boy. Now I need you to understand something about that moment, because everyone thinks this story is about what Bruce Lee did to the bodyguard. It is not. Bruce Lee never touched Garrett. Not once. Not ever. What Bruce Lee did was far more powerful than that. He knelt down on the floor of that dirty hallway in front of a boy that everyone else had decided was nobody. And he held out his hand. "May I see it?" he asked. The boy slowly handed him the drawing. Bruce unfolded it carefully, like it was made of glass. He looked at it for a long time, and then he smiled. "You drew my stance wrong," Bruce said. The boy's face fell. "But," Bruce continued, "you drew the feeling right." He turned the drawing around so the boy could see it. "Look, you drew me balanced, centered, ready but not tense." He tapped the paper. "Most grown men who study for years cannot see that. You saw it." The boy stared at him, eyes huge. "How old are you?" Bruce asked. 12, sir." "And how long were you standing out here?" The boy hesitated. 3 hours, he admitted quietly. Bruce nodded slowly. Then he looked up, for the first time, at Garrett. "I have replayed the next 10 seconds in my head for 50 years. Bruce did not yell at Garrett. He did not threaten him. He just looked at him, calm, steady, for a long, uncomfortable moment, and then he said, very quietly, "This boy waited 3 hours to give me a gift." He let that sit in the air. "And you decided that your power in this hallway was more important than that." Garrett opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "You have a door, and a uniform, and 280 pounds, Bruce said. "And you used all 3 of them against a child holding a piece of paper." The hallway was dead silent. "That is not strength," Bruce said. "I have spent my whole life studying strength, and I am telling you, that is not it." Garrett looked at the floor. He looked like a man who had just been seen all the way through. But here is the part that almost nobody believes. Bruce did not get Garrett fired. He did not even raise his voice. Instead, he turned back to the boy, and he did something that changed that child's entire life. "Come with me," Bruce said. He stood up and put his hand gently on the boy's shoulder, the same shoulder the bodyguard had shoved, and he walked the boy past Garrett, through the door, into the dressing room. The boy looked back over his shoulder once, not at Garrett, at his drawing, now held carefully in Bruce Lee's hand, like he could not believe it was real. "I followed them in. I was supposed to. Security. But really, I just had to see what happened next." Inside that room, Bruce Lee sat the boy down, and for the next 20 minutes, 20 minutes that important people were waiting outside for, Bruce Lee ignored all of them. He talked to the boy. He asked him about the drawing. He asked him what he wanted to do with his life. The boy said something I will never forget. He said, "I want to move like you do, so that when I move, people feel something." Bruce went quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Then you already understand the most important thing." "What's that?" the boy asked. "Most people move to be seen," Bruce said. "You want to move to make people feel. That is the difference between a performer and an artist." He leaned closer. "Never let anyone make you feel small. Not a man at a door, not a crowd, not anyone." He tapped the boy's chest, right where Garrett had pushed him. "You decide what you are worth, not them, you. Understand?" The boy nodded, tears in his eyes. "Say it," Bruce smiled. "I decide what I'm worth," the boy whispered. Louder, "I decide what I'm worth." And the boy smiled for the first time that night. Before the boy left, Bruce did one more thing. He took the boy's drawing, and instead of keeping it, he signed it and handed it back. "This is yours," he said, "but now it belongs to both of us. When you become who you are going to become, you show this to people. And you, tell the man, once told you that you saw something most people never see." The boy held that paper to his chest like it was his own heartbeat. Then he left. And I went back to my job, thinking it was just a strange, beautiful night. I had no idea what I had actually witnessed. I would not understand for years. Now, about Garrett. He came up to me at the end of the night. He was quiet, different. "That kid," he said. "Bruce Lee spent 20 minutes with that kid, and I shoved him." He stared down the hallway for a long time. "He didn't even yell at me," Garrett said. "I almost wish he had." I understood what he meant. Bruce had not punished Garrett with anger. He had punished him with the truth, and the truth is heavier than any punishment. Garrett quit security a few months later. I heard he became a high school coach. I heard he was good to the kids, especially the small ones, especially the quiet ones. I do not think that was an accident. For years, I told this story as a nice memory. The night Bruce Lee was kind to a little boy. I did not know who the boy was. He never told us his name. Nobody asked. He was just a kid with a drawing. But here is why I am finally telling this story. Years later, I was watching television, and there he was, grown, famous, the most famous performer who ever lived, moving across a stage in a way the world had never seen before. The stillness before the motion, the control, the way every movement made millions of people feel something. Move to make people feel, not to be seen. I knew those eyes. I knew that soft voice. The quiet boy from the hallway, the one who waited 3 hours. The one a bodyguard decided was nobody. Michael Jackson. I have thought about that hallway every day since. Because two men made a choice that night about the same small boy. One man saw a nobody, a kid who was not on the list, an inconvenience to be pushed aside. The other man knelt down on a dirty floor and saw an artist. Same boy, same hallway, same 3 minutes. Two completely different ways of looking at a human being. And the one who knelt down, the one who looked closer instead of looking away, he was right. The world found out he was right. People ask me what the lesson was. They think it is about Bruce Lee being a great fighter. But Bruce never threw a single punch that night. The most powerful thing he did was kneel. He got down on the floor, lower than the boy, and made a child feel like the most important person in the building. A bodyguard, with all the power in that hallway, made a boy feel like nothing. And a man with nothing to prove made that same boy feel like everything. That is the whole story. A boy waited 3 hours with a folded drawing. A bodyguard refused to let him through, and Bruce Lee knelt down and gave him 6 words instead. I decide what I'm worth. I have wondered, for 50 years, how far those 6 words traveled. How many stages, how many records, how many millions of people felt something because one man, in one hallway, decided to look closer instead of looking away. I was there, I saw the boy get pushed, and I saw him get lifted. And I have spent the rest of my life trying to be the kind of man who kneels down. Most days I fail, but I think about that hallway, and I try again. Because somebody has to be the one who looks closer. That night, it was Bruce Lee. The rest of us just watched a future we did not recognize yet, holding a folded drawing, waiting 3 hours for a door that almost never opened. There is one more thing I never told anyone. It is about Tom, the young guard. After Bruce took the boy into the dressing room, Tom came and stood next to me. He was quiet for a while. Then he said something I have never forgotten. I almost said something, Tom told me. When Garrett pushed him, I almost stepped in. He looked down. But I didn't. I was scared of Garrett, so I just watched. Then he looked toward the dressing room door. And that man in there, he wasn't scared of anybody. And he was the gentlest person in this whole building. Tom shook his head slowly. How does that work? He asked me. The most dangerous man here is the kindest one. And the rest of us, who can't do half of what he can, we're the cowards. I did not have an answer for him that night. I think I have one now, 50 years later. The answer is this. Cruelty is what fear looks like when it gets a little bit of power. Garrett was afraid of being small, so he made others smaller. Tom was afraid of Garrett, so he stayed silent. I was afraid of making a scene, so I froze. We were all afraid, and our fear made us either cruel or silent. But Bruce Lee had spent his entire life walking straight into the things that frightened people, and somewhere along the way, he had burned the fear out of himself. And what was left, when the fear was gone, was not more danger. It was kindness. That is the secret nobody tells you about real strength. The strongest people are not the hardest. They are the gentlest, because they are the only ones who are not afraid anymore. Garrett guarded a door with 280 pounds and a uniform. Bruce Lee did not need any of it. He knelt on a floor, in front of a boy that everyone else ignored, and changed the course of a life, and he never raised his voice once.